Mr. Speaker, on the international scene, I would like to conclude with that. Nigeria has just won a hard-earned nomination to chair the International Institute of Democrats, world democrats around the world. It was something we lobbied for, and we have finally got it. And Mr. Speaker...
Honorable Bimbo, please, can you take your seats?
And Mr. Speaker, the reason why when we went and we got that, people were skeptical about Nigeria. I stood up at the forum and I said, we learn democracy by doing. And the only way we learn our democracy is by doing democracy. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to lend my voice to everybody who has spoken. It's not about apportioning blame. It's not about saying what the issues are. It is about protecting our democracy. And therefore, let me align myself with everybody who has spoken before me. But let me also say that it is our duty as the federal parliament to ensure that our brother parliamentarians and parliaments everywhere around Nigeria are protected. I so submit.
Thank you, Honorable Abike Dabiri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. Abike Dabiri, Ikorodu Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'll be very brief without sounding repetitive. I want to start by saying that as a nation, if you don't know where we're coming from, we at least should know where we're going to. And that is why what this parliament is doing today is saving us as to where we're going to, Mr. Speaker. Invoking section 11(4) of the Constitution is the right thing to do. We shouldn't even argue about it. It is the right thing to do and save this democracy. Mr. Speaker, in today's world of technology, Mr. Speaker, we saw everything that transpired live, not only on Channels television, but on YouTube. And Mr. Speaker, I saw a policeman who was kicking somebody on the floor. He did that almost for a couple of seconds. There was a gentleman in white who took something looked like a tripod and was hitting another colleague on the head. And that one held his head, blood was all over his head. And we're all watching. Mr. Speaker, I think whatever we do, whether the CP is going to go or not, those three people that we saw live, it's all over Channel, it's all over YouTube, that were involved in that brawl must be sanctioned immediately. There was a policeman in uniform. I don't care whose side he belonged to, whether it was somebody's ADC or not. He should be summarily dismissed from the force. And secondly, the other gentleman who wore a white dress and was beating the other person with a tripod must be dealt with. He's a parliamentarian, and it must be dealt with, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, today what we're doing is saving our country's democracy. We cannot sit there and say it cannot happen again. If anything happens to this democracy, this parliament will go, and that should not happen. And I'll end again by saying, Mr. Speaker, I stress, if you don't know where we're coming from, we should remember where we're going to. Thank you.
Honorable Dati.
Right Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Garbadeti Mohammed. I represent Sabangari Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State. Mr. Speaker, I've listened to the contribution of the previous speakers, and I want to adopt their submission. But my own submission will be a bit different from what other people have spoken about. Mr. Speaker, what is happening in Rivers did not happen just yesterday or day before yesterday. It's a culmination of events that have been taking place since the time the posters of Governor Amaechi flooded some part of this country that he has an aspiration. That was the beginning of the problem. And what is happening in Rivers, people have been calling for the removal of police commissioner. I want to disagree. The police commissioner is just a small person in this police hierarchy. He is working under instruction, Mr. Speaker. He has been given this instruction to destabilize Rivers. Mr. Speaker, what is happening, the bottom line of all these crises in Rivers is to make sure that the Rivers State Governor, Chibuike Amaechi, is finally impeached by 5 legislators as against the other 27. Mr. Speaker, if care is not taken, what is happening in this river state is exactly the replication of what happened in 1965 in Western region.
Put the question.
When there was crisis in Western House of Assembly, is what led to the culmination of crisis that led to the crisis of 1966. And if care is not taken, if you allow this to happen, don't be surprised by tomorrow, bunch of criminals, rascals will be allowed to come into this chamber and drive us away. Maybe 1 or 2 people will come and preside and be a speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to support the amendment. Sorry. So, okay, the whole issue is the politics of 2015, whether we like it or not.
Thank you very much.
The president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He's the head of security in this country. He knows exactly what is happening. We should not pretend.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Speaker, finally, I just want to support the invocation of Section 11, subsection 4. Thank you.
Honorable Samson Osagio. Honorable Frank Bajabiamila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I honestly would have loved or wished that this was a dream. But unfortunately, as the saying goes, if wishes were horses, beggars would fly. Mr. Speaker, I remember Chinua Achebe's last book when he wrote, There Was a Country.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, there was a country. Would this have happened years ago? Just less than maybe a week ago, this country, from all sides, we rose in one voice, in unison, to condemn the undemocratic nature of what was going on in faraway Egypt. We did that. Mr. Speaker, I doubt if wherever they are now, people who are listening and looking into this country, they will say to us, physician, heal thyself. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, many have talked about Section 11, and I will talk about that in a minute. But let us not forget that before Section 11, there is a section that comes before it. That is Section 1, subsection 2. It describes what has happened in River State. Section 1, subsection 2 of our Constitution describes exactly what has happened in River State. I will read, Mr. Speaker. It says, and I quote, "The Federal Republic of Nigeria shall not be governed, nor shall any person or group of persons take control of the government of Nigeria or any part thereof, except in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution." In that section lies the offense of treason. Within that 3-line or 4-line clause lies the provision of treason. Let us call it what it is. If it walks like a dog, if it talks like a dog, it is a dog. What has happened in River State yesterday was not even attempted. It is treasonable felony. When you attempt to take control of a part